20th of January, 1945. Saturday, -1 degree Celsius overcast. Quite a strong wind is blowing.
Juhász Eszter, 22 years old. District 11. Orlery Street 4.
We had a very sad day. Imre died. He went out for bread at dawn and never came back. He had already received the bread when he came out of the shop and was about to close the door when a shell hit behind him. He received 3 splinters in his lungs and died instantly. I couldn't eat a bite of that bread. He was such a nice, honest boy. You couldn't say anything that he wouldn't do immediately. He was always cheerful and grateful that we gave him a home. He had been to war, on the Russian front, and escaped without injury. He survived major bombings in the open air, and now he had to die like this. Actually, it was a beautiful death because he didn't have to suffer. This is how fate ordained it for him, and it is certainly good this way. Only it is difficult for a person to accept that a young man of 24 in the prime of his life should end like this. Of course, we buried him here, but the ground was so frozen that the men could not dig, so they had to blast with German help. The body is still lying in the baker's yard, and they will only bring it over in the evening, because you can't walk on the street now. 2 German soldiers tried to start a car in front of the house. Both were immediately injured. Hopefully nothing will happen in the evening when they go for the body. That would be a bit much. On top of all this, we had a lot of excitement, because an Arrow Cross man came and gave the order that all men between the ages of 10 and 96 had to go dig trenches. He wrote down the list of men. They were supposed to report to the party headquarters on Horthy Street at 4:30. Well, this is really too much, because the work would have to be done at most 200 meters from the front line, of course in constant bullet rain. All civilians, who have families at home, and many would never come back. This whole thing is completely pointless. Why should more people die then? Istvan spoke to the German commander. Bring a paper from the command that the men living in the house work for the Germans and cannot go to dig ditches. This is of course not true, but I hope it will work. It would be really terrible if they were taken away. An acquaintance of ours spent a whole night doing this work, and he said it was a miracle that he survived. Many people fell next to him. He looked accordingly, as if he were his own shadow. How incredibly stupid these Arrow Cross men are. This is also shown by the designation of the age limit, because the law states that the upper limit is 48 years, so those who were born before 1896 are already exempt from this. I don't know exactly what's going on with the lower, 10-year limit, but it could be similar with this. They probably only glanced at the regulation and shaped it to their own taste. It didn't even occur to them that a 96-year-old man is happy if he can walk, let alone dig, and they would still have the heart to drive out 10-year-old children. Poor Imre has been brought home. It was quite a difficult task, as Horthy Urt is impassable. They had to climb through gaping holes in the walls to reach the baker's yard. Getting there was one thing, but coming back with the heavy body was hard work. His coffin is a trough. The caretaker, who is a carpenter, is making a lid for it, and the girls have brought a small pillow for his head. Imre was buried this evening. Actually, we wanted to do it in the morning, but since the grave was ready, we didn't want to wait any longer. Who knows what will happen by tomorrow morning, whether we will be able to leave the house at all. We hear the machine guns so close that we don't have much hope left. We erected a cross and placed flowers on his grave, and in the quiet of the night, the snow spread a delicate white sheet over it. And in a small village, a white-haired old woman does not yet know that her son is now watching over her from above.
Gresa Ferenc, 42 years old, Roman Catholic priest, Nagykovácsi.
Yesterday, some of the men returned from digging trenches. They were at Leány Vár, a nearby village, right on the front line, where they could see the German soldiers. Bullets were flying over their heads. Since the streetwalkers in the city have voluntarily made themselves available to the Russians, and they can satisfy their desires, they don't harass our wives and daughters as much anymore. Even the wine has run out. In the first few days, when the cellars were still full of barrels, a lot was wasted. The Russians simply shot into the barrels and drank whole jugs of wine at once. In their drunkenness, they behaved brutally, rampaging and raging. It's a good thing they didn't plug the bullet holes and the wine leaked out.